Welcome back, everyone. So the other morning, I'm on my way to Spot Coffee in Glens Falls, and as many of you know, that's right next to Crandall Library. And I was walking past Crandall Library, and I saw all these posters and all these things for all these cool things going on. So I called my friend Kathy and said, you better come in because there's a lot going on in February with Black History Month, and a lot going on between now and April with a folk series and all kinds of things. So back again is Kathy Naftaly, who is the director of the Crandall Library. Welcome.
Thank you. When you ask, I come.
Woof, woof, woof.
Yeah.
Very nice to have you here. And we have a special guest, Darrell Laurant. And Darrell's the author of a book, Inspiration Street, 2 city blocks that helped change America. What an intriguing sounding title, Darrell. I'm going to hand it to you. That's quite a title. So welcome to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very nice to have you here. The reason that Darrell is joining us today is that he is the author of the book Inspiration Street, and it's a fascinating story related to a lot of the things that we should be thinking about, right? Actually year-round, but especially in February during Black History Month. Darrell, the name needs a little bit of an explanation. So what's behind the book?
Well, I was a columnist for a newspaper in Lynchburg, Virginia for a long time, and I became acquainted with a lot of people who were actually very influential in Black history in one way or another. And then it occurred to me that most of them all lived on the same block in Lynchburg,
wow,
which is an inner city block. It's named after, it's called Pierce Street, named after quite possibly the worst president we've ever had, Franklin Pierce.
You might want to think about that.
Well, yeah, that's true. So far, anyway. And and then I found out that the street had been laid down on the site of a Confederate training camp, and it just all fascinated me. I just wanted to write about it. And there's a revival of that street. There are 8 historic plaques on that block, and which is unprecedented in Virginia. So it just seemed like I'm a writer, and as a columnist, I did stories about people sometimes who were a little out of the limelight, and it just seemed like a great project. But the Inspiration Street comes from the fact that the people who lived on that block did inspirational things.
Well, let's talk a bit about who they are. This is really pretty fascinating. Let's start with Anne Spencer, the poet.
Anne Spencer
and her son.
And her son,
right,
Chauncey. Anne Spencer was raised by foster parents. Her parents were split up. Her mother eventually came back and raised her. She never had any formal schooling until she was 11 years old. But yet she became a poet. She's the only African-American female in the Norton Anthology of Poetry, which is kind of like the Bible of poetry, or was. Mm-hmm. And her house became a mecca for people in the literary, African-American literary Harlem Renaissance type people from the early 1900s. Her son Chauncey was one of the, he went to Chicago to learn how to fly. He was always fascinated by airplanes. He eventually became one of the founders of the Tuskegee Airmen.
Wow.
So, you can go there now to Anne Spencer's house and tour the garden, and it's her granddaughter lives there now and is kind of building on her legacy.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Another name really stood out in the book, Walter Johnson.
He was a physician in Lynchburg. He was one of, I think, 2 or 3 African-American doctors in Lynchburg. And he had been a college football star. He scored 8 touchdowns in one game, but that was back before the NFL took in black players. So he was looking for another physical activity. He took up tennis, started teaching first neighborhood kids on his little clay court in his backyard. Word got around, and eventually he taught Arthur Ashe and Althea Gibson not only tennis but about life, and he was sort of a mentor to both of them. And they went on to become Wimbledon and U.S. Open champions.
Right.
So, and he was in the 1400 block, but I count him as the 1300 block because he was on the corner.
Okay. The corner counts. What we have time for one more. How about I mean, pronounce her name correctly? Ameza Meredith.
Miss Meredith was a young woman who wanted to be an architect because her father was an architect. He he was a white man, married a black woman, lost all his
White clients.
white clients, and so he committed suicide the year that Ameza graduated from high school. But she still wanted to be an architect. She couldn't get into any architectural school in Virginia because of her gender and her race, so she taught herself. And she started out doing architectural projects for her friends, thinking if something went wrong, it was okay. Eventually, she did a whole subdivision on Long Island and a kind of a cutting-edge house at Virginia State University. She was a Columbia graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Now Darrell is speaking tonight at the Glens Falls Library, much more in depth about the people in this book and the significance of really this one block area in Lynchburg. And realize we're in very strange times right now, and you think about what African American people have gone through, and it wasn't so much that they were going against the system, but they were learning how to go around the system and creating a world unto themselves. They did become architects. They did become famous tennis players. They became poets. They became airmen. It's a fascinating read, and something that I think that everybody should read, pay attention to, especially during this month, especially during these times. Well, Darrell, thank you very much for coming in. Good luck tonight with the talk.
Thanks for having me.
You're quite welcome. Kathy, always great to have you in.
Thank you.
And very creative programming there at the library.
Got a good crew.
Oh, man.
Lots of good ideas.
So we'll have you back because we want to talk about the folk series, too.
Absolutely.
Okay. Great. Nice to see both of you. To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.